Tonight, we will be discussing about the tongue diagnosis made easy. So sa tongue color. As discussed a while ago, yung pulse diagnosis, always ang kapartner niya is tongue diagnosis. Sabi kanina, it's like learning a musical instrument. So, hindi naman kaagad-agad tayo natututo ng pagtugtog ng musical instrument, but through practice, matututunan natin ito. So, first, pag katapos natin pulse diagnosis, the next thing we need to learn naman is the tongue diagnosis. So first here, we have the tongue color. Sabi dito, the tongue color refers to the color of the tongue body itself and not the coating. So we have to learn first that may coloration po yung tongue body, and at the same time, sa ibabaw po nun, there is a coating. So we have to distinguish yung kabuuan na kulay po ng katawan ng tongue and yung bumubuong coating sa ibabaw. So tayo po naman is, ang una nating dapat pagpraktisan yung sarili po natin. So while I'm discussing here, you can try to check your own tongue. You can have it check with your mirror or sa cellphone. So ganun din po dun sa pulse. Sa sarili po natin, ang una nating pagpapraktisan. So next, if the coating is so thick, so usually dun sa ibabaw may coating po yun, that you cannot see the tongue body, the color of the underside of the tongue may give an indication of the color of the tongue surface. So to determine, para ma-determine natin yung kulay ng kabuuan ng katawan ng tongue, halimbawa, meron siyang covering sa ibabaw, yung usually sa may center, para malaman po natin ang totoong kulay ng katawan ng tongue, usually, check natin yung side, yun po yung ma-indicate ng color ng tongue body or tongue surface. The color of the tongue can be used to diagnose condition of heat, cold, yin deficiency, yang deficiency, qi deficiency, and blood deficiency, as well as the state of the zangfu organ. So similar siya doon sa pulse diagnosis. So whenever na may significant finding po tayo doon sa tongue, kailangan natin i-correlate yung finding naman natin doon sa pulse. So partner po siya. The color of the tongue can give an idea of how deep evil qi has penetrated into the body. So kung may pathology or may condition po yung pasyente, using the evaluation of the tongue, malalaman po natin kung gaano na pumasok yung sakit sa loob ng katawan through tongue diagnosis. The color should always be seen in relation to the shape of the tongue. So, importante na alam po natin yung kulay ng katawan ng tongue, and at the same time, i-correlate natin sa shape ng body, ng tongue, kung malaki, mataba, payat. These two aspects cannot be seen separately from each other, and they are the single most important aspect of tongue diagnosis. So, importante po yung kulay and yung size po ng tongue. In cases where you are unsure of your tongue diagnosis because of the conflicting information, so kung nalilito po, it is the tongue's color that should determine the diagnosis, because it is the most important aspect. So dun tayo magbabase sa tongue color kung ano po talaga yung nakita natin doon, kung conflicting po yung information na nag-gather natin. This is because the color of the tongue body reflects the long-term influences and the underlying patterns of imbalance. So, mas mag-rely po tayo dun sa tongue color. Yung 5 pathological colors have traditionally been differentiated on the tongue. So, tandaan po natin, ito yung mga basic na kulay: pale, red, dark red, purple, and blue. The overall color of the tongue should be noted, as well as any color changes in specific areas. So, yung kabuuang kulay ng tongue, yun po yung pinakauna nating dapat makuha or malaman, as well as yung mga changes po doon sa mga specific areas or organs na nag-signify doon sa changes in coloration. The color of the tongue as a whole will reflect the general condition of the body, and changes of color in specific areas of the tongue will relate to the imbalances in these areas of the body, especially nga dun sa zangfu organ that these areas pertain to. So, ang tongue natin is represented by different organs. So, in a general coloration ng tongue, there could also be different changes on every specific areas that pwedeng mag-represent po doon sa zangfu organ na could be may condition na nararamdaman ng pasyente. So we need to know and tandaan po natin yung mga color changes. So first we have the pale tongue. The tongue will be pale when there is not enough blood circulating in it. So, totoo naman, di ba, yung una-una nating mapapansin sa isang tao, yung face niya or yung lips, kung kulang sa dugo, usually pale. So, ganun din po yung nangyayari sa tongue. If there is not enough or deficient blood, usually, yun po yung nangyayari sa tongue coloration, which is pale. This may be due to there being too little blood in the body in general. Blood deficiency, possibly qi deficiency. There being too little qi or yang to transport blood up to the tongue, or there being something, pwedeng cold, for example, that is blocking blood from reaching the tongue. So, sabi dito, kung konti yung qi or yang na nagpo-push ng blood, kasi di ba partner yung blood and qi or yung yang para gumalaw po yung blood to give the coloration of the tongue, or pwede rin po dahil merong pumasok na lamig or na-expose sa lamig, magkakaroon po ng pale tongue which is blocking the blood from reaching the tongue. It is necessary to complete the color, to compare the color of the tongue with the shape of the tongue body. So, kailangan natin, pag nalaman na natin yung coloration, i-relate natin po doon sa shape ng tongue body. As well as the coating and the moistness of the tongue in order to determine which pattern is involved. So, makakabuo na po tayo ng pattern with that, yung coloration, yung tongue body, yung coating, yung moistness ng tongue. Blood deficiency will make the tongue not just pale, but also thin and dry. So tandaan po natin, pag ang patient is, ang condition is blood deficiency, ang condition niya, ang ma-observe natin, ang tongue is pale, manipis, at dry po ang characteristic. There is a rare situation in which yang deficiency can also result in a pale and dry tongue. So pwede rin po mangyari sa yang deficiency. This is when the yang is so weak that it is unable to transport fluids and blood up to the tongue, and therefore the tongue is dry. So pwedeng blood deficiency or yang deficiency could result into pale tongue. The young deficiency tongue will not only be pale, but it will also be swollen and wet. So ang kaibahan niya dito, ang young deficiency is swollen and wet, while yung blood deficiency is um, uh, thin and dry. So sa young deficiency, maga po or malaki yung tongue and basa, while sa blood deficiency, it is pale and thin and dry. So ang yang deficiency, same as the qi deficiency of the tongue. This means that you will have to compare the tongue with the patient's pulse. So yun na, dito na pumapasok yung pag-compare natin kung ano nakita natin sa tongue, we should compare it with the pulse, and at the same time ask the patient relevant question that can help to differentiate this pattern, such as whether they have an aversion to cold. So if there is excess cold, the tongue can be pale with a thick, white, and wet coating. So dito naman pag excess cold ang nangyayari, there is a thick and white wet coating naman. It is very common for the side of the tongue to be paler than the rest of the tongue. So mas paler po siya dito sa cold condition than the rest of the tongue, yung dito sa may side mismo. This is a manifestation of the liver blood deficiency. So di ba ang position ng liver is nasa side ng tongue. So if there is a pale coloration on the side of the tongue, we could say that this patient has a liver blood deficiency. The side of the tongue can also have a pale orange hue when there is a liver blood deficiency. So the same po kung may pale orange coloration. Next, we have the red tongue. The presence of heat can turn the tongue red. So once we makita natin na reddish yung tongue, so we could relate it with the presence of heat. This is because the young nature of heat drives blood upward to the surface of the body. So dahil nga sa may heat, sa loob ng katawan, ang nangyayari, gawa ng young nature, yung heat is to release the heat, paakyat po siya at palabas. So habang umaakyat po siya, na-observe po natin din sa tongue yung red coloration. In Western medicine physiology, the body opens and increases the flow of blood in the exterior aspect of the body when the temperature rises, enabling blood to dissipate some of the heat to the surroundings. So, ganun po yung nangyayari pag mainit po yung katawan, paakyat palabas para po mailabas yung heat. So, ang nangyayari, since there is a presence of heat in the body, paakyat yung heat, pupula po yung tongue. This means that the tongue will be more red in color. The opposite is the case when the body is too cold. Yang deficiency cold and yin excess cold in Chinese medicine. So when there is heat, the tongue is red. So opposite niya, kung merong cold, magpipale po naman siya. In this situation, the tongue will be pale in color due to the reduced amount of blood in the superficial blood vessels. So ganun po nangyari, since there is a cold, ito po yung humaharang ng flow ng blood papunta sa tongue. So the coloration would be pale. Pale po yung tongue natin dito. The whole of the tongue may be red, or it may only be specific areas of the tongue that are red. So pwede rin yung buong body ng tongue is red, or may mga representation lang ng areas of the tongue na pwedeng yun lang po yung nagkukulay na reddish. If an isolated area of the tongue is redder than its surrounding, it will indicate the presence of heat in the organ that manifests in this area of the tongue. So, since the tongue, divided po siya ng different organs, zangfu organs. So, whenever there is a reddish coloration or changes in a specific part or area of the tongue na naiiba po doon sa ibang part, that could represent a zangfu organ on that area. The presence or lack of coating is diagnostically very important when diagnosing a red tongue. So, importante din po na malaman natin kung sa tongue body, meron pong coating dun sa ibabaw sa pagda-diagnosis natin sa coloration ng red tongue. The presence or lack of coating will indicate whether to diagnose excess heat or yin deficiency heat. In excess heat, there will be a yellowish coating, while there will be a lack of coating on the tongue when there is yin deficiency heat. So, dapat malaman natin dito yung dalawang condition ng red coloration. Kung meron pong yellowish coating sa ibabaw ng red tongue body, ibig sabihin there is an excess heat. And on the other hand, kung sa ibabaw ng tongue, yung tongue body is red, pero wala namang coating, this could be said as yin deficiency heat. So, tandaan po natin itong dalawa, excess heat and yin deficiency heat. When there is heat present, the tongue will usually be dry. So, may heat, tutuyo yung tongue. There is, however, a situation where the tongue can be red and wet. So, bakit ganon? This can occur if there is an acute condition of extreme heat. So, meaning, acute condition, recent or ngayon pa lang nangyayari yung condition na pumasok or nangyari na health condition sa pasyente dahil sa extreme heat, pwede po magkaroon ng red and wet na tongue condition. In this case, the extreme heat drives fluid in the body upward and outward. So dahil po sa heat, pinupush niya yung fluid pataas and outward. So nakikita natin siya dun sa tongue. Reddish ang coloration and at the same time wet po yung tongue. This will make the tongue temporarily wet. So ito is temporarily lang, and later on this will dry up. The person will probably also sweat profusely in this situation for the same reason. So magpapawis din siya kung acute condition po yung health condition ng patient. Another scenario that can manifest with red and wet tongue is the condition of damp heat. So dito naman kung ang pasyente merong damp heat, there is the presence of a yin. So yung yin dito is yung damp and yung yang pathogen naman is the heat. So nagkasabay po yung yin and yang pathogen. So we have the damp heat which magre-result po ng red and wet tongue. It is important to remember that yin deficiency can exist without resulting in heat. So pwede po hindi pa naman lumalabas yung heat dahil yin deficiency pa lang nag-start, in which case there will be a normal colored tongue that is dry and lacking in coating. So malalaman po natin na yin deficiency dahil po wala po siyang coating. Like dito po sa nagsiswell na tongue on the right side. We consider this as yin deficiency. So thank you po for listening.
Thank you very much, Sir Dino. We are now open for the questions. Meron po tayong isang question. No? Okay, Ma'am Mildred, would you like to answer? There's a question from Dr. Ryan Baldomero. I understand that pulse palpation and interpretation can be subjective, so correct and supervised practice is essential. If the radial pulse is not accessible, what other areas would you suggest we can use to palpate for pulse diagnosis? Brachial, the arms, dorsalis, pedis, the feet. Ma'am Mildred, would you like to elaborate?
Magandang gabi po. Yes po, yung tulad nga po nung kinukwento ko noon na yung mga manggagamot sa baryo, nagtataka ako nung kung saan sila nagpapalpate nung hindi pa ako marunong. So nagagamit po talaga. So kung yung radial po ay may problema, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin. Halimbawa, wala nga siyang kamay, at hindi mo siya pwedeng pulsuhan. So yung other part po ng katawan, pwede po. Sa noo, pwede po dyan. Sa may leeg, pwede po dyan. Sa may kilikili. At saka mismo po yung mga acupoints natin, pwede po nating ipalpate. Halimbawa po gusto nyong malaman yung sa kidney, malaman yung kalagayan ng kidney, pwede po sa kidney 3. Magpalpate po tayo doon. Mararamdaman po natin direct mismo yung po ng kidney kasi andun po naka-flow yung channel. So, yung meridian nandun, kaya makakapa po natin.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Mildred. And I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, i-discuss niyo po yan in the future presentation. Di ba? Maraming salamat po. So, I think okay na po. Do we have any question for tongue diagnosis?
Sir, ako po.
Sige po, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, sir, Doc, yun doon po sa damp heat. Kung sinabi po niya na yin and yang pathogen, paano po ma-diagnose to?
Okay, Sir Dino.
Nabanggit ko kanina na damp heat kasi nahihiwalay po. Pag sinabi po natin na damp, meaning this is a yin condition. Tapos sinabi mo naman na heat, yang condition naman ito. Ito pong dalawang yin and yang condition nagkasama, kaya tinatawag sa acupuncture na damp heat.
Condition. Okay po. Sige lang po, nagle-lecture lang po.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Thank you po. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat sa tanong. Any other question po before we wind up for tonight's presentation? Okay, kung wala na po, yung mga interesadong maka-receive ng e-books, courtesy of LUMP, notes, presentations, even study guides, no, ganun po kami kabait. Okay. Kindly email us. Write your email address on the chat box. Okay. So we have no Zoom po tomorrow. It's Thursday, Friday, wala po. We will be back on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. So with that, on behalf of LAMP Foundation, we would like to thank your presence, your attention for tonight's presentation, and special thanks to our very excellent presenters. Diba? So of course, we have Mr. and Mrs. Digma from Apayao, and Apayao, no? So I got it right. And also Sir Dino Pinero from Legazpi. Okay. So kung wala na pong questions, we would like to say good evening to everyone and see you po on Monday.
Thank you. Thank you sa inyo
very
lahat.
much. More questions.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thanks to
We appreciate
everyone.
your presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you po.
Thanks to all. Good night.